Okay, so we'll get started now. Thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar, Year 12 Results, What's Next? I assume most of you who are joining us are in Year 12 this year. First of all, congratulations for finishing. Well done, it's a massive achievement to get through Year 12. I think when I was in high school, I reckon my Year 12 year was harder than my first year at university. So it's definitely an awesome achievement. We'll get into the webinar. To start with, my name's Nicole. I'm a student advisor here at Flinders University. Basically my role is to help answer any questions that you may have along the way. Hopefully all of you have already got SATAC applications in if you're hoping to come and study with us next year. If not, feel free to put in that chat box and we'll be able to assist you as well. Throughout the presentation today, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them into that chat box and I will try and answer them either as part of the presentation or I will make sure I do definitely cover them all off at the end as well. So like I said, I'm a student advisor here at Flinders, but I also was a current student at Flinders myself. So I have a Bachelor of Laws and Legal Practice and a psychology degree from Flinders Uni as well. So a couple of years ago, but I definitely really enjoyed my time here at Flinders. And I fully appreciate how, nervous this time of year can be when you're waiting for your results. So hopefully over the next 20 minutes or so, we'll be able to make you all feel a little bit better and clear up some of the questions that you may have as well. Okay, so there's a few people, excellent. So, Year 12 results, if you are from South Australia, will be released next Tuesday, the 18th of December from 8:30 AM, which is very exciting. If you are an IB student, your results will come out on the 3rd of January, so a little bit later. But I assume most of you will come through the SACE program, so your results will be available on the 18th of December, next Tuesday from 8:30 in the morning. How the results are actually used depends a little bit. So with your results, basically this is a score that you can use to gain entry to Flinders Uni. And you'll hear a lot of the time ATAR, selection ranks, all of these different kinds of terms. It basically means the same thing. So if you see ATAR and you hear people talking about selection ranks, you can basically, for the purposes of working out what your score needs to be, just assume it's the same result. With your ATAR or selection rank, you might notice online, if you've had a look through any of our courses previously, that there are a couple of different numbers listed for every degree. All degrees will have what we call the competitive entry. This is the score from last year. And most courses will have a guaranteed entry score as well. Good thing with the guaranteed entries, with a guaranteed entry result, if you have achieved that guaranteed entry and that course is listed in your preferences, you have guaranteed yourself a spot in that degree. So for example, the Bachelor of Education Secondary combined with the Bachelor of Health Sciences has a guaranteed entry of 90. And what we mean by is if you have that course listed in your preferences and you score 90 or over for your ATAR selection rank results, you've guaranteed yourself a spot in that course. Doesn't matter if 30,000 people decide to apply, you know you have a spot in that degree with us. But there's not much changes from year to year in the competitive entry, and this basically depends on how popular a course is and how many people want to do it and how many positions we're actually able to offer. And this is the competitive entry, and this is the number that fluctuates a little bit from year to year. And you can see it's generally quite a bit lower than the guaranteed entry. So for the same course this year, guaranteed was at 90 and it's 90 for next year as well. But we actually accepted down to 70 for the course. Now sometimes if you're looking at the details online, you might see some really strange numbers. For example, 71.25. It doesn't mean that we just decided arbitrarily to cut it off at 71.25. That 71.25 is actually referring to an actual individual person who got an offer to that course. That was their ATAR or their selection rank for last year. That's all the ATAR is. Other thing to keep in mind, that with the ATARs or the selection ranks and these kinds of things, it's not actually reflective of how hard a course is. It's just reflective of how popular a course is and how many positions we're able to offer in it. And that's why that number changes. If all of a sudden we have 30,000 people apply for this degree, that number might go up a little bit. But generally speaking, it will be somewhere around the same. There are some degrees that fluctuate from year to year quite dramatically, but most of them tend to stay around that same mark. So hopefully we're aiming for those guaranteed entry results, but if we don't quite get there, we're sitting around that competitive entry score, we can probably feel pretty good about receiving an offer to those courses as well. As I said guys, if you've got any questions or if I'm saying anything that doesn't make any sense, please feel free to pop it in that chat box and I'll clear it up as we're going along as well. So the ATAR or selection rank is your means of entry to university. There are also lots of other pathways. Aside from that score, there are some other entry requirements for particular degrees. So some courses might have prerequisites. Prerequisites are subjects that you have to have completed at Year 12 level in order to be allowed directly into that course. Another requirement might be assumed knowledge. Now, assumed knowledge is kind of the same as prerequisites, except you don't have to have it. It's a nice to have rather than a have to have. Obviously, our medicine program requires the UMAT, and some of our creative areas have auditions like dance and drama, and portfolios as well for things like our visual entertainment design courses as well. Another thing that you can use for entry is Unitest. So Flinders is the only university in South Australia that has the Unitest. The Unitest can actually improve your ATAR kind of. So instead of us normally just looking at your ATAR as the only main entry point for you to university, we can weight the ATAR at 60%, and then the results that you've received from Unitest make up that remaining 40%. And if that means overall you have a better number, then we use that to get you into the course as well. If you have sat the Unitest this year, you should be shortly receiving your results from ASA. It's not like you get a brand new score or anything like that. It's just something that we use in the background to potentially get you into a course you might not have otherwise got into at Flinders Uni. Something else that can impact on your ATAR as well are adjustment factors. You may have previously heard these referred to as bonus points. So same thing, it just had a name change last year. With adjustment factors, if you are eligible for them, you can receive up to a maximum of 9 points overall. There's two areas that this is broken down to. One is the equity scheme. So this will either be automatically allocated if your school formed part of the equity scheme, and your school probably would have told you about that earlier. If not, you may have been eligible to apply under the individual scheme as well. So generally speaking, this is if you or a parent are a recipient of some kind of government payment throughout your Year 12 year, then you may be eligible for the individual bonuses. If you think that's you, you can fill in a form and attach it to your SATAC application. Just jump back into your SATAC application, you'll be able to provide the details through there as well. The other way that you can receive these adjustment factor points is through particular subjects that you may have completed this year. You can receive up to 2 points per subject, so each subject is worth 2 points. These are the different subjects, so you can do a language topic, English Lit or English, math methods or specialist maths. With these ones, these adjustment factor points will count towards all of the degrees at Flinders except for our Bachelor of Clinical Sciences Doctor of Medicine program. And how it works is, say you've done English Lit and math methods, then you will receive 4 bonus points or adjustment factors in addition to your ATAR score. With the ATAR score, it doesn't already include these additional points. So when you get your results on Tuesday, say you get an ATAR and it's 70. So that's awesome, but you know that you've done English Lit and math methods. That 70 score does not include these 4 points that you've received towards it. And you don't just want to add it on, because it doesn't automatically become 74 just because you've received 4 points. What actually happens is it gets re-added, recalculated, re-ranked against everyone else in the country, it's added to your aggregate, and it can actually go up a lot higher than just those 4 points. The only way to find out is to either call SATAC or call us, and we can let you know about your adjustment factors. And seriously, on Tuesday from 8:30, we are just on the phones constantly, here to help you out and answer any questions you might have and advise you about your adjustment factors. Best number to call for Flinders is 1300 354 633, and you select option 1 and you'll come through to us. It is a really busy day, so if you're planning on calling and you end up being on hold for maybe a minute or two, please don't hang up. We will get to you really quickly. We're really good. We've got lots of staff available to speak with you, but it is a really busy time for us, so just be a little bit patient, but we'll be able to let you know your adjusted score. And this new ATAR might go up higher than just those initial points. So sometimes 70 could turn into something like 77. Importantly, your ATAR with adjustment factors, or your overall selection rank with these adjustment factors, is now what is considered. So if that has now put you into that guaranteed entry bracket, your ATAR with your adjustment factors has now put you into that guaranteed entry bracket. You now have guaranteed entry to that course. So this is the ATAR that we're now interested in. It's the ATAR that has the adjustment factors added to it, not that original one that you've received from SACE. So it's quite important to give us a call and find out about it, because you might just, be able to rest easy and know that you've now got guaranteed yourself an offer for that course as well. If you do better than expected, you might like to consider adding in some of our high achieving courses. So this is Robert. Robert was actually in Year 12 a couple of years ago, and he did really well in Year 12, and he was really passionate in the area of business. With Robbie, his family were a group of lawyers, and he had a lot of pressure to go and become a lawyer or a doctor. But his passion was in business, and that's what he most wanted to pursue. So he actually decided to go for our high achieving business course. His ATAR was like 99, so it was really, really high. Normally our business degrees just require around the 70 mark in that competitive entry score. But Robbie was really passionate, so he decided to go into our advanced leadership program for high achievers in our business degree, which has a higher entry ATAR required. And there's some additional bonuses within those courses throughout it as well. Most of our different areas across Flinders will have that additional high achievers option available to you as well. So if you do a lot better than you expect, you might like to consider one of those high achieving courses. Keep in mind though, you should always follow your passions. You don't have to use up your ATAR to the full amount or anything like that, because like I said, the ATAR is just reflective of how competitive a course is, not necessarily how hard it is. So just follow your passion. If you score, 99.99 or something, but you really want to go into teaching, by all means go into teaching. If that is your passion, that is the best course for you to do. Keep in mind as well, your ATAR does not expire. ATARs don't expire. ATARs will not run out as such. We can use them for entry to different courses across the university until you've completed more than 2 years equivalent of full-time university study. And that's really good, because you might start off in a course, and this happens all the time, you might start off in a course, not enjoy it, and therefore not do very well in it in your first year, and then you might find something else that you really love. And your ATAR is still valid, so you can actually still move into a different course at that point without having to worry too much about your university results. Nice bit of a backup to have in there as well. So talking about backups and different pathway courses, all courses at Flinders will have a backup pathway. There is a form on our website that you can go through, and if you've picked up any of our course guides previously as well, under each individual course there's a whole list of the different pathways to those courses as well. But generally speaking, we have a number of pathway options available to you that require much lower entry scores. So we have our Bachelor of General Studies. This is a general studies degree, so it's kind of similar to an arts degree, but the requirements for it are really different. So an arts degree has an ATAR minimum of 60. Okay, all courses at Flinders will have an ATAR minimum of 60 to be considered for entry for them. General studies though is a little bit special. It's something that's made on a case-by-case basis. So if you perhaps don't do as well as you'd hoped and you don't get that 60 score, you might like to list the general studies in as your final lower preference, and the SATAC code is there, because sometimes you can start off in this program, do well in it, and use your results, your university results, to move across to a different degree. So it's a good backup one to consider. Another thing to think about is dual offers. So we have a lot of courses that are available that we teach start off with TAFE, and then it progresses into a Flinders University degree. So if you don't quite get the results needed for a Flinders course, and one of your courses is available as a dual offer, for example, youth work and the Bachelor of Social Work, you can do a Diploma of Youth Work at TAFE and then come and do a social work degree with us. That might be something to consider listing as well. And basically it works as a conditional offer. So you go into the TAFE component first, you do that one, and once you've completed that, you advise us, and we then give you the offer for the Flinders degree as well, the dual offers option. Another option as well is a program that we call Flinders Uni Leap, and this is basically a intensive opportunity for you to do a little bit better in your results to get you into a course with us sooner. how it works, if you get an ATAR between 50 and 59, we will automatically contact you and invite you to apply with us for the Uni Leap. It's an intensive 4-week program, and it's basically designed just to give you that bit of an intro to university, and then it gives you a range of courses that you can move across to immediately after. It runs mid-January to mid-February. It's intensive, so it's 4 days a week. I think it's 9 till 3, but it's a really good option because it means you can still start university in that first semester without having to take any additional time. Importantly, we will contact you if you are eligible for this course. And again, those adjustment factors also count into the Uni Leap program. So you do have to have an ATAR between 50 and 59.95 to be eligible for it, so just below that 60 minimum. But say you get an ATAR of 48 and you receive some adjustment factor points, and that then bumps you over to that 50 mark, we will get in touch with you automatically to invite you to participate in Uni Leap as well. And of course, we have our Foundation Studies program. This is another program. It's very similar to Uni Leap, but it's not quite as intensive. It's a free preparation program. Basically, it goes for, you can either do it over 3 months or over 7 months. And it gives you a range of courses that you have guaranteed entry to at the end if you successfully complete it. So things like the Bachelor of Arts, the Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Science, so you all have guaranteed entry into upon successfully completing Foundation Studies. With Foundation Studies, it's a free course, just like Uni Leap. However, with Foundation Studies, you do need to apply for it, so we won't necessarily contact you automatically about the program, but something else to consider, and it's another really good pathway if next week's results don't quite go to plan. And you can apply online for the course. Importantly, guys, it can be hard to figure out exactly what the best pathway is for you just from reading all of this information. I'm trying to give you a bit of an overview of it all, but it's a bit hard. What we'd still suggest is give us a call on Tuesday once you get your results, and we can work with you to work out the best pathway for you and your particular individual situation as to where you want to go with your university studies as well, because depending on what you're most interested in and how you best work and how you best study and everything as well, it might be any one of these things, but we can work with you if you give us a call next week once you've got your results to help determine what that best pathway option for you will be. Another pathway you can consider, and this is where those backup courses come in handy, is what we call Flinders Link. These results you can see at the top there, this is a GPA. GPA is grade point average, and this is basically university grades. They're out of 7, and you get grades for every subject you do, and then you have an overall grade point average. You can use your university grades to get into another university degree. So just like we can use Year 12 results to get into uni, we can use uni results to move into uni as well, move into different courses at Flinders. So with this one, this is available for Flinders students. And this is when we talk about having those backup preferences. So perhaps you want to do a law degree, for example. You might like to list the Bachelor of Laws and Legal Practice, and then the Bachelor of Law and Society Law Pathway course as a lower option because it has a lower ATAR. And once you're in that course, you can go through and do it and then use your university results to move across. You don't have to necessarily use those pathway degrees. They are really well set up though, because they have what we call credit, so they don't take additional time out of study to move across. But they are a really good thing to consider. To give you a bit of an idea, a GPA of 5 out of 7, and 5 is kind of results of 65%, that's actually high enough to get you into a Bachelor of Laws and Legal Practice at Flinders. So sometimes it can be easier to do better in your first year of university study than it is to do better in Year 12. So just keep in mind you have lots of backups. This is Kirsty's pathway, so she did this, what we were just talking about. When she was in Year 12, she applied for a whole range of different courses. Her first preference was Bachelor of Psychology Honours, a very competitive course, has an ATAR of kind of over 92, 93. Her second preference was Law and Behavioural Science, again psychology based, but this one, Bachelor of Laws and Legal Practice, that year was sitting around the 93 mark as well. And then her third preference was a Bachelor of Behavioural Science. This one on its own normally goes down to around 70, but it's guaranteed at 80 as well. Kirsty received an offer to her third preference, the Bachelor of Behavioural Science. So that's what she started off studying. So after she did that for one semester, she then used her university grades, what we were talking about on that previous page, her 65% average score, to apply internally through the uni. She didn't have to go back through SATAC or anything like that. Once you're in the uni, it's really easy to move around. She actually used her uni results to move across to the combined degree with the laws and legal practice and behavioural science. She did that for a year and then decided it wasn't quite right, wasn't really what she wanted to do. So again, she used her university results to move across to that original first preference she most wanted to do, the Bachelor of Psychology Honours. So this is a way that you can use those uni results to actually move through and get into higher level courses as well. These are some of the example pathway courses we have set up. So for people who are looking to go into competitive courses like, say, physiotherapy, the health sciences is a really good pathway program, so a really good backup lower preference to have listed in there, because you can still do the similar topics that you would do in first year physio within the health sciences degree, and again use your university results, that GPA, to apply to move across the following year. We've got that laws and legal practice one and the law pathway course listed in there, as I said. And there's also the one like forensic science as well, so it works in exactly the same way. You go off to it in the first year, you do similar subjects, your university results, and you move across the following semester or following year, depending on how you go. And just to point out, with these pathway courses, when you get your results and give us a call, we can actually help you with listing your preferences in SATAC as well. So if you're not sure what pathway course to put in, you can give us a call and we can assist you, because it's always really good to know that you have a preference in your SATAC application that you have guaranteed entry into, and that will work as a pathway towards your chosen degree as well. So in terms of actually accepting offers, we'll go through some dates in a moment, but once you've applied and you've got your preferences sorted and the SATAC starts making offers, they will send you your offer to the email address that you have registered with SATAC. If you have registered your school email address and you no longer have access to that email address, please jump back into your SATAC application and change your email address to one that you have full-time access to. Because it's awful. Every year there are people who don't think they've received an offer, but they have, but it's to their old school email address that they no longer have access to. So make sure you've got access to that email, because they will be sent out via email. If you receive an offer to your first preference in your SATAC application, it is accepted automatically on your behalf, so you don't have to do anything. If you receive an offer to your second to sixth preference, you will need to respond. So you have a choice about what you do. And these are the 4 different options. So number 1, you can accept that offer. Number 2, you can accept that offer but still wish to be considered for higher preferences. Number 3, you can reject that offer, and number 4, you can reject but still wish to be considered for higher preferences as well. We generally suggest the best one to go for is number 2, because if you are still hoping for your first preference, accepting your offer to your second, third, fourth, fifth or sixth preference, but still wishing to be considered for your higher preference, still keeps you basically in the game for that first preference still as well. If you're planning on deferring your offer, we'll send you heaps of information about how to do this. You actually do it directly through the university. So it's all done within Flinders. So it's all done through our websites on there as well. So what's it actually like studying as a full-time student? This is Clary. Clary is one of our current students. And this is his weekly timetable. Now Clary is studying health sciences and occupational therapy. So at the moment he is at uni on Mondays for first part of the day, most of the day on Tuesday, and he has 1 lecture on Thursday mornings. That's it. That's as a full-time student. As a full-time student, and this is when we say a degree takes you 3 years to complete, that's saying you're going to be a full-time student for those 3 years. You would do 4 topics per semester, and there's 2 semesters a year. That's what gets you done in that 3-year period or 4-year period. So this is Clary's weekly timetable as a full-time student. This is the time he's physically at the university. It's just in that solid blue bit there. Outside of that, he does independent study. So this is when he might be writing his assignments, perhaps doing his readings, preparing for exams. So he's broken that up into a few different chunks over the rest of the week. In addition to that, Clary works. So he works Monday afternoons, all day on Wednesday, and a little bit on a Friday evening as well. But he's still managing to balance it all really well. And Clary also likes to play sport, so he has sport all day on a Saturday, and he has Thursdays blocked out there for social as well. But you can see outside of this, there are still heaps of time available to Clary to do whatever he might like to do. It might be socialising more, it might be working more, it might be studying more, but it's a really nice kind of indication of just how it actually works. With your timetable, you might find that there's different kind of requirements for different subjects, and when you get your offer, we send you enrolment information and go through all of this again. But with basically a standard topic, you might expect to have a lecture once a week, and a lecture is your typical American movie setup. Everyone's in one room looking at the person pacing up and down in the front. Those ones at Flinders are compulsory to be recorded, so most of the time they're actually made available to you watch online, so it's up to you if you'd like to come in or stay at home for those lectures and watch them in your own time. Outside of a lecture, you might also have what we call a tutorial or a workshop, or perhaps if you're doing a more hands-on degree, something like a laboratory or a practical. But these ones are really important to come in and actually attend because they're smaller group work activity and you kind of work through different problems through them. But with those ones, they give you a whole range of different times every different day, so you can make your timetable what it actually works for you. And that's what Clary's done here. He's tried to cram as much as possible in on a Tuesday. I think that class on a Thursday morning was probably a lecture. Cram as much as possible into a Tuesday, so he has more of the week free to do his other study and his other activities as well. And you can do it that way if that's what you prefer. I have one semester, I have my timetable down to 1 day a week and a lecture on one other day during that week as well, and that worked pretty well for me. But other people prefer to spread it out over the week because they like to, have a bit each day, and that's fine too. The important thing is it's up to you as to how you like to do it. So in terms of some key dates at the moment, obviously next Tuesday results come out. Hopefully you are all happy with your results, but if not, like I said, there are so many different pathways into Flinders Uni. So just give us a call and we can go through all the different options with you. When it comes to actually receiving offers, this year we've got something a little bit new. So on the 20th of December, we have an early offer round. This is brand new for this year. The 20th of December is just for first preferences for non-competitive courses, basically if you have guaranteed entry. So on the 20th of December, you may receive an offer. And it's only going to be for first preferences for non-competitive courses if you have guaranteed entry. For example, you might have applied for the Bachelor of Business and you might have an ATAR of 80, which means you have a guaranteed entry to that course. You will get your offer on the 20th of December. However, if you have applied for a competitive course, perhaps you've applied for Bachelor of Clinical Sciences, Doctor of Medicine as your first preference, and you've got an awesome ATAR, but because it's one of our competitive courses, you won't find out on the 20th of December. You'll find out in the main round offers, which is the 15th of January, and that's the standard procedure. On the 20th of December, it's only looking at first preferences. It doesn't look at any of your other preferences. On the 15th of January, this is the main traditional offer round. This is when most people will find out their offers. And how it works on the 15th of January and how it works with your preferences in general, but for the 20th of December, when the system's looking at making offers, it will look at your first preference. And if you meet the entry criteria for that course, you're competitive enough, you've got any prerequisites that might be required or anything else, if you meet that entry criteria, the system will make you an offer and it will not look further down your list for your other preferences. Even if you are eligible for other courses further down your list of preferences, you only receive an offer to that first preference. If, however, it looks at that first preference and you don't meet the criteria, perhaps you're not quite as competitive as needed, or maybe you didn't have the prerequisite, it will then look at your second preference. If you meet the entry criteria for your second preference, it will give you an offer and it does not look further down the list. And it keeps doing that. This all happens in an instant. It will keep doing that until it either exhausts the list or hits a preference that it can make you an offer to. And it all happens immediately on the 15th of January. It does all of them. So you're not going to receive an offer for every single course that you meet the criteria to. You will receive an offer to the highest preference that you meet the entry criteria to. So make sure you list your preferences in your order of passion. You have until the 3rd of January to go in and change your preferences for that main offer round. Okay, and by change preferences, we mean add preferences, delete preferences, reorder preferences, basically do whatever you want to them. And you can do that until the 3rd of January. So it gives you a bit of time after you've got your results on Tuesday to make some decisions. If you are an International Baccalaureate student, you will receive your results on the 3rd of January. If you wish to change your results after, you can do so until the following Monday, but you will need to contact SATAC, you'll need to call them and have your preferences changed that way. Everyone else until the 3rd of January, you can go back into your SATAC application and change those preferences through there, just like how you added them originally. Then on the 15th of January, the main round of offer comes out, and checking your emails that we still have access to after school, hopefully with our offer in it. Within that offer, we'll also have all the different steps that you need to take to enrol in your course, as well as how to access the Flinders systems and everything as well. After the 15th of January, there are further offer rounds. And sometimes people get confused because they think the first offer round is just first preferences and the second offer round is just second preferences, but it all happens in that instant, remember. These later offer rounds are for people who may have changed their mind or maybe are still hanging out for their top preference, and because sometimes the competitiveness does drop. So a couple of examples here. Say you have applied for a Bachelor of Laws and Legal Practice, say one of our more competitive courses. Actually, we keep using that example. Maybe we say we've applied for a Bachelor of Occupational Therapy. We want to do OT. So in the first preference, in the main round offer on the 15th of January, perhaps we just missed out and we got our offer to our second preference, our backup course, which was the Bachelor of Health Sciences. We've responded to that because it was our second preference and we need to respond to anything below a first preference. We've responded to that and said, I accept this offer, but I still wish to be considered for my higher preferences. So we're still keeping that first preference open. Perhaps come the 24th of January, what can sometimes happen is sometimes people will reject their offers. Perhaps they get an offer interstate, perhaps they no longer want to study, and sometimes we're able to open up additional places, which means we can slightly drop it. So we might then get an offer on the 24th of January to our higher preference. It's a later offer round. So that's why we always want to select that I accept, but still wish to be considered for my higher preference, because it keeps us in there for those future offer rounds. Another example might be if we've changed our mind. So sometimes we get an offer on the 15th of January and we may have even got it to our first preference, but perhaps we were tossing up between two totally different areas of study and we didn't really know what we wanted to do. And you kind of get this, it always happens, you get this little sinking feeling in your stomach. Perhaps that wasn't the course I most wanted to do. There's additional offer rounds. You can go back in, change your SATAC preferences. You can move your first preference down to your second preference, move your second preference up to your first preference. Do whatever you need to do to get the courses in the order that you most want them to be, so you can then be considered for those future offer rounds. And again, we're ticking that box, I accept but still wish to be considered for my higher preferences. And there's a number of different offer rounds through January and February as well. Come the week starting the 25th of February, we have Orientation Week, or O Week, here at Flinders. This is basically a great opportunity to come onto campus. You do not have to come all week, one day is probably enough. But there'll be the guide online soon as to the timetable, all the different activities and stuff happening and events. Basically, there's a whole heap of stalls out in our main plaza, lots of free stuff, opportunity to sign up to different clubs and different activities and sporting groups and things, and to start meeting people and getting familiar with your new university. It's a really good opportunity. I encourage you to come around at least for one activity and just to check it out. There's also heaps of tours and stuff as well, so you can start becoming more familiar with the campus. And then on the 4th of March, semester starts. So if you're studying in a semester 1 course, you will start then. After you start uni, there's a whole range of different things that can happen. So you'll start and you'll go along to your first lecturers and they'll talk about the different books and things you might need to buy. They'll go through the different requirements of the course. and basically start introducing you to the whole idea within that first week. If you start on the course and you feel like it's not the right one for you, that's okay too. You can still call us and we can provide you some advice if there's a different course you want to change to. And you can also defer your offer after the first few weeks of university as well. So sometimes we start university and for whatever reason we might have a different opportunity come up, or might just not quite feel ready. You can always take a semester off or defer your offer for a year even after you've accepted and enrolled. Always just give us a call and we can provide you with that advice specifically for your situation as well. So, in terms of a bit of a checklist of next steps for you guys, give us a call on 1300 354 633 option 1 on Tuesday to find out about your bonus points or adjustment factors. If you have done the uni test, we'll be able to talk to you about how your results may be, assisting you in that case too. And we can also provide you advice as to the best way for you to order your preferences now that we know the results that you've achieved as well. You can also attend a preference information session. So if you prefer to meet with someone face-to-face, we have a number of sessions coming up. Feel free to take a screenshot of these ones. And there's a whole range of different ones over different times. So there's a couple here on campus at Bedford Park, there's also one at Vic Square, and there's also one at the State Library on North Terrace as well. So lots of opportunities to come in and have your questions answered. I haven't seen any questions come through on the chat box. If you do have any, feel free to pop them through now and I'll just answer them to you individually. But all the best for your results. Please give us a call on Tuesday and we can discuss with you the best pathways and advice to uni adjusted ATARs as well. And good luck, guys. I'm sure you've all done an amazing job this year. And no matter what happens next Tuesday, there is always different pathways for you to come to Flinders Uni. So please just give us a call and we'll be able to answer all of your questions then too. I'll stay online for just a few minutes, but I'll turn the camera off. If you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in that chat box now and I'll go through and answer them. But thanks so much for joining us and best of luck for Tuesday.